It is a great day to be alive in Pittsburgh, PA. Welcome into an emergency edition of Kaboly+Mack. Good afternoon, friends, yinzers, countrymen, getting ready to dig out of snow soon enough. If you live in Western PA, or really anywhere east of the Mississippi, you're going to get hammered with weather. You're getting hammered with weather right now. We appreciate you spending a little bit of your weekend with us. If you're with us live, if you're watching this later, well, here you go. Mike McCarthy is the Steelers head coach, apparently. That is not officially official yet, but they are working to come to an agreement to name Mike McCarthy the 17th head coach in Pittsburgh Steelers history. And as you've been hammered over the head with many times in the last couple of weeks, the fourth Pittsburgh Steelers head coach in the last 57 years. He's Mark Kaboly. He's got a new pair of glasses. Those look nice.
No, they're
Those
old.
new ones?
No, I just broke them last night, so that's why I was a little bit late. And I'm out getting the old, the Vision Works or wherever that place is called. If you want to sponsor,
Getting some Chris Sabo rec specs.
The kid needs that, but getting some Vision Works. If you want to sponsor, please contact the website Vision Works. But I think I get a text message from unsaid person that says, "Stay by your phone." My response was, "Not today, not now." I still haven't got a response from that.
Well, you got all you need to know now. Mike McCarthy going to be the next head coach. I am going to have this ready because not necessarily as a celebratory beer. Oh, got shaken up a little bit there. But because once it's empty, I will have the can that I can then kick down the road like the Steelers just did, Mark. Kicking the can down the road. I'm going to let you try and rein us all back in because you've been much more reasonable and pragmatic about the possibility of the Pittsburgh Steelers hiring Mike McCarthy. And tell me what you think of this, the good and the bad.
Well, I think the good was obvious. And I think I wrote about that a couple of days ago. And that's going to be the key to this hire. And I truly do believe that if you were going to look back in a couple of years to say if this is a success or a failure, if you're able to find a quarterback to be able to develop into a guy, who can be around for more than a year, because this is going to be, 6 straight year, different starting quarterback potentially, then the job is well done, perfect hire. But if that is on the back burner to be able to run it back one more time this year, and hell with, trying to find, develop, and look for the future of your quarterback, then it would be a failure. So I told you that a couple of days ago. They were really, really interested in figuring out who this next quarterback's going to be. They know that they cannot sit here and just keep doing the same things. I don't know if they will admit this publicly or not, but that's the big reason why they hired Mike McCarthy. I mean, it's the best of both worlds in their eyes. I mean,
Sure.
your eyes probably not the fans' eyes or whatever. They have a chance to get a Hall of Fame quarterback, which he's probably on the verge of it, right? And to continue to press forward and thinking you can win, right or wrong, whatever, and be able to develop the most key position that they know that they need. So you look at it that way, the theory's right. I don't know if the execution will be right, and that's what we're going to have to wait 4 or 5 years to figure out the execution is right.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll have to wait that long, but I'm going to need another swig of this before I say what I need to say. I don't have a problem with Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy, by all accounts, and I've never interacted with him personally, but by all accounts, is a good dude, down to earth, Pittsburgh guy. I like the fact that he, like you said, he's brought along quarterbacks in the past. I don't hate him as a coach. He's won over 60% of his games in his career. He's gone to the playoffs, I think, 12 out of 18 seasons or something like that as a head coach. He's won a Super Bowl. But choosing to hire Mike McCarthy now, this weekend in particular, strikes me for a couple of different reasons. One is the possibility, and you brought this up last week when we talked about this coaching search and how it was unfolding with all the virtual interviews that they did. And Chris Shula and Nate Shielhouse and whoever else they met with virtually, was the idea that they may get spooked by having to wait another 2 weeks. If the Rams win tomorrow, and yeah, they could have an in-person interview with Chris Shula if they wanted to, but they'd have to wait to make the hire official. So that's the first thing. I wonder if that was actually in their thoughts when they did this. Or did they actually believe after talking to all the candidates, and again, only in-person interviews with 3 guys. Do I have that right?
Yep.
Three guys, Mike McCarthy, Brian Flores, and Anthony Weaver. Not even bringing Shula in for an in-person interview. If they were just so flabbergasted, knocked off their seats, impressed by Mike McCarthy. So it's one of those two things. Either they got spooked about having to wait another 2 weeks, or they were just so in love with whatever Mike McCarthy said when he came in that they had to do it. That's the first line of thinking that I want to explore.
I don't know. I don't think they would have offered him in here if they didn't really, really like him. You know, I don't think the Chris Shula has anything to do with it, because I don't think the rest of the teams out there, they would be having to fight for him. I mean, they would have been. They would have been. I mean, first of all, this all goes away in 24 hours if the Rams lose, right?
Right. And for the most part, it's mitigated, even if the Rams win, because you can still fly out to LA and interview the guy. We talked about that yesterday. You can still fly out to LA and interview the guy. And if you really liked him, then you would just sit and wait until the day after the Super Bowl to get it done.
Yeah, and I don't think you would have to be worried about anybody else swooping in to get him. So this was on their minds from the beginning. I don't know the ultimate reason why or who made the decision, but it sure seems it's like the meshing of the two worlds, right? The Omar wants to make sure that this organization's in a good spot moving forward with the quarterback situation, while Art still has a chance to win a Super Bowl in his eyes with a Super Bowl caliber coach before he hangs him up too. So it could have been a mesh of ideas right there as well.
So
The people going absolutely ape shit.
Yeah,
It's just weird. I mean, maybe you don't like it, that's fine, but you still gotta wait. Just because Mike McCarthy comes back is no slam dunk that Aaron Rodgers is coming back. So I mean, if you're thinking that, no. I mean, it could be, but you don't know that right now, and I would almost bet against that right now.
So there's a couple different directions to go. I want to start with what you said about the meshing of the two philosophies. Omar, even though he's gone out and made big, bold moves to acquire veteran players over the last few years, has also done, I think, as good a job as you can to set yourself up for future drafts, in particular this one that's going to be in town in a few months, by stacking up draft picks. So he's looked more forward, I think. Not saying he hasn't tried to be a part of a formula for winning, but Omar has looked more forward. And it's seemed that Art Rooney II now, I would think he's the other big decision maker here, the final boss, as it were. Art Rooney II strikes me from what he said at the press conference last week. He would have kept Mike Tomlin around if given the option to. And by ultimately making this decision, that he continues to be comfortable with this idea of high floor, low ceiling teams, which is what I think this is going to be, I think, more of the same in that regard. I'm not saying they won't be able to pop one year if they find the right answer at quarterback and go to a conference championship. I'm not saying they're going to go 6-11 at some point. They're going to solidly be in the middle, though. That is highly likely, somewhere between 8 and 10 wins, right? That's what this franchise has become, because I don't know how much of an identity they have. And that's been the problem over the last 5 to 10 years. You know, we were waxing poetic the other day about the peak of Ben Roethlisberger back in like 2015 when he had the back-to-back 6 touchdown games the year before that. And, you know, for a while they were built around a Hall of Fame quarterback and some high-end offensive weapons, the killer bees, after years of being built around defense. And since Ben reached the end of his career, they don't have an identity. And I don't know if hiring Mike McCarthy, whether it involves Aaron Rodgers for one more year or not, helps them find that identity, Mark. That's what I think is why so many people, myself included, wanted to see them take a swing on a younger guy without any head coaching experience, because at the very least, that guy would come in and, you think, be able to infuse the organization with his coaching philosophies and personality and give them an identity. I don't know if the identity now is going to be any different than it's been for the last 18 years. Mike McCarthy's a white offensive version coaching a version of Mike Tomlin with a Yinzer accent instead of catchphrases. Like, it's Tomlin 2.0.
And I mean, what are we talking about here? I mean, we're still talking about a coach, as in Tomlin, has won 3 straight 10 wins games. This is where the disconnect comes from me, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually like the fact that they're in between that 8, 9, 10 wins every single year. I think that's the way you should approach your organization. Maybe, 8 plus every year. Then you have your opportunity to do certain things when you get to the playoffs. Obviously, Tomlin failed in the playoffs the past 10 years. That's where you need to get better. Just because he failed doesn't mean this guy's going to fail right now. So I sort of agree with Rooney on the taking a swing at it, but I guess I'm the minority of it. I guess people, here's the thing. We sit here and moan and bitch and complain about Steelers just keep doing the same thing. They just hired a 62-year-old offensive coach rather than a 35-year-old defensive coach for the first time since like 1960. That's pretty significant. Now, if they would have hired say, Chris Shula, would there be some narrative out there that would have said, same old Steelers, go back to what works, defensive young coordinator, first-time job, they never change?
Well, look, if you're asking the question if some people are always going to be pissed, then yes, some people are always going to be pissed and they're always going to find a problem. That part, I agree with what you're saying. Again, we talked about it yesterday. I don't think had they hired Chris Shula, people, at least I don't think intelligent people, would have said, same old Steelers. I mean, it's not much of a track record. It's not much sample size when you've only hired 3 guys in the last 50 years.
What do we know about Chris Shula?
He's got a very good defensive track record with a team that hasn't had a ton of talent, especially since Aaron Donald retired.
Okay. What do we know about Mike McCarthy? He has 180 wins, Super Bowl champ, develops quarterbacks, good offensive mind. I mean, you can pick and choose what lane you want to go down here, right? I mean, just because, this guy is not. I'm not sitting here defending this because, like I said, it's going to have to be based on, for me to be a success, what happens with the quarterback position. Even though I might be contradicting myself saying 8, 9, 10 wins are fine, start from there. If it comes out here in a couple of years and there's the quarterback of the future is around, I'm all for that. That's a great hire. I don't know if you get Chris Shula in here and thinking that you have that same possibility. I mean, okay, bring Nate Shieldhouse. Okay. I mean, there's no guarantee there that he's even going to be an offensive coordinator, let alone the head coach this year. So obviously people have looked past him or maybe overinflated what his capabilities are right now as we speak. So
yeah, and so my issue with McCarthy is not about what I think his schemes or his philosophies will be coming in as head coach. Like you've pointed out, he's helped develop quarterbacks. I think it is refreshing to an extent to go with somebody who's more offensive minded than defensive minded, because this team hasn't gone that direction again in half a century. So those aren't my problems. My issue is more with the process now and the idea that you didn't go out of your way, at least it doesn't sound like, to wait around just a couple more days to interview a guy who sounds like he may be a pretty good coach in Shula. Again, we don't know for sure, but also that it's got the feel of, okay, this guy's 62. We like him because he's from Pittsburgh and because he's won a lot of regular season games. And he can coach quarterbacks. I can see the positives there. Like, I'm sure if you ask the Arizona Cardinals or the Cleveland Browns or the Raiders, they'd be ecstatic at hiring Mike McCarthy because those teams just don't taste success all that often anymore. Steelers fans, I think, look at it and say, okay, tell me how a guy who has, I don't know, one playoff win in his last 5 seasons is any different than the guy we just moved on from who didn't have a single playoff win in his last 9 seasons. Do you understand that perspective?
You're comparing apples and oranges. Okay, just because he didn't win with Dallas doesn't mean anything for him here. Dallas hasn't won in 30 years.
Fair.
I mean, he did have 3-12-4 records. I mean, I'm not going to say this is the greatest hire ever. Great, but when you compare it to the other options, which I've been saying, this is not a great cycle of coaches that are out there. Be honest with you, they're just not. I mean, that's the case. You either take a swing and can miss horribly with Chris Shula because you just don't know anything about him.
Sure.
At least you know something about McCarthy. Like I said, if they go 4-12, 4-12, 4-12, and they come out with Ben 2.0, it's a win for me. If they go 14-2, 14-3, and have to go with quarterback after quarterback after quarterback, it's a failure to me. That's the way I look at it.
Okay. Well, let's pivot then and talk about going forward and the quarterback decisions that are going to have to be made because, like you said earlier, obviously everyone thinks this is going to mean that Aaron is back, or at least they're going to try to lure Aaron back for another year. If you're hanging out this weekend looking for a place to get wings and maybe some ice cold irons, Archie's is the best place to do it. Pittsburgh's best place for food, drinks, and sports. 80-cent wings Monday through Thursday nights. Great sandwiches, burgers, flatbread pizzas too. And of course, as I mentioned, ice cold iron and icy light on draft. I got mine in the can that I will be kicking down the road after it's empty. Stop.
You guys are just so angry.
I'm not angry. I'm more, like I said, for me, it's more process oriented. Like, I'm disappointed that they didn't at least interview Shula in person once. Didn't have more than just a virtual interview and find out. Now, I said this earlier in the week about somebody else, whether it was Shieldhouse or somebody else. If he had walked into that virtual meeting or the second in-person interview and go, "Hi, my name's Chris. I like football." Okay, well, yeah, that's not your guy. You know, it becomes plainly obvious. But I would think that you would have at least talked to him in person before making this move. But they must have been so enamored with whatever Mike had to say in his interview that they said, nope, we got to get this guy now. I just think you could have been a little more patient with a hire that really didn't need to be made necessarily in the next 2 weeks.
I'm just spitballing here, but say McCarthy was a 70-30 chance that they wanted him right now.
Mm-hmm.
Now Chris Shula all of a sudden wins, and you basically have to wait to hire until February 9th.
Yeah,
but they come to the decision within that time they want to hire McCarthy. Then you're like, oh, it's just because Shula's not going to be available till February 9th. So this is our second pick, really. We just had to go with this because we have to put together a staff. Maybe that has something to do with it. But I'm telling you, man, even with some of these, I mean, off the point a little bit, some of these candidates,
mm-hmm.
I mean, the Shieldhouse, just watching some interviews of him, hearing some stuff, I'm thinking this guy's not going to fit here. Anthony Weaver talks the perfect game. I just don't know if he would have been able to surround himself with the proper people. And I think that might have been an issue there. Shula, something must have been
Off.
I guess. I mean, maybe the virtual interview wasn't good. Maybe that McCarthy. I honestly do believe, with all my heart, it's what I said 100 times already, quarterback related.
Okay, so what do you think? How do you think this affects the chances of Rodgers returning? Because they didn't get along at times,
Yeah.
but I mean, I would think with distance between that relationship they had in Green Bay and present day, that they might each look at it as an opportunity to rekindle something for a year. Or do you really think that this is, if it's really all about developing a future quarterback for this
Not
franchise,
all. It's staying competitive while you do that too.
but if you're trying to, if one of the big tenets of bringing in McCarthy is he's going to help us find and develop our next franchise quarterback, right?
Mhm.
That's why we hired an offensive guy, a guy who's done, I mean, look at some of the years Dak Prescott had with him. Look at some of the years Rodgers had with him. We trust him to help us find that. Don't you want to find that out sooner rather than later about maybe a young quarterback already on your roster? I have no problems with Aaron Rodgers
Yeah.
if your stated goal is to go 10-7 and maybe lose in the first round again. But if you're really all about pivoting towards the future and finding your future quarterback, then I say to Aaron, hey, Aaron, it was a great year. If you decide to play again, maybe give us a call, but we got to move in a different direction here, man. Like, we got a young guy that we want to find out what we have in him. And we're probably going to be looking at a couple other veteran directions too in free agency, just to give us some insurance behind that guy. We've got Mason as well. So thank you, Aaron. But unless something falls our way, we're probably not reuniting for another year.
I just put it this way: they at least have a chance to get Rodgers back now. This would probably be the only chance it was. I still don't think it's a great chance of him coming back just because McCarthy's there. I mean, a lot of things are going to have to fall in place. I mean, the Cam Haywards and the TJ Watts and the DK Metcalfs are going to have to probably get in his ear and say, hey, we need you back. We want you back. I mean, McCarthy's probably going to have to call and not beg, but, talk about it. But you're saying you just don't want another 8, 9, 10 win year. I mean, who knows? McCarthy and Rodgers played together for what, 17 years?
And won one Super Bowl.
Maybe, I mean, a lot of people complain about Arthur Smith. Maybe if you do add a wide receiver, maybe he is right for the job. I mean, right now, what do you want? I mean, that's the question too. I don't know. I think if Aaron comes back, if he wants to come back, I probably would say yes. Because what's the worst thing can happen? You can have another year of Will Howard.
This can gets kicked down the road one more year. That's what happens.
Will Howard gets some goddamn knowledge here too, brother. I mean, and if they do,
I will say this: the quarterback availability this offseason, for the most part, is trash. If you're not drafting first overall, or you don't pull off some blockbuster trade that nobody sees coming.
Well, maybe we're looking at this the whole wrong way. Maybe he thinks that Malik Willis is the superstar he can turn Aaron Brooks into. You know how he turned Aaron Brooks into that superstar? Maybe he says, oh, this Malik Willis, I can make him into a star. Maybe that's the road they go down. I mean, it's just too early to figure out what their plan is right now.
Turn Mac Jones into the next Dak Prescott.
I'm just saying. I am not absolutely slamming my fist on the table saying Aaron Rodgers is back now. He could be. I'm not saying I wouldn't bet on it.
So that's still the biggest question here. And still, part of my beef with bringing McCarthy in is you get no closer, I don't think, to building an organizational identity. Like, I get it. It's Pittsburgh. It's the hypocycloids on the side of the helmet. And we're supposed to believe that it's all about smash mouth defense and Blitzburgh. But come on. We all know that, like I said earlier, it got away from that during the peak Ben Roethlisberger years because he was slinging the rock for 5,000 yards and 45 touchdowns. And that was fine at the time, even though it didn't succeed in the playoffs. And since then, they haven't found, I don't know if they know what they want to be. That's the biggest problem. And I don't know if hiring Mike gets them any closer to figuring out what they want to be.
And hiring Chris Shula or Anthony Weaver would?
Chris Shula, yes, I think would tell you we're going to build this around defense first.
Boy.
We're gonna build a roster that's based on a defense that gets after the passer, that forces turnovers, and then once we've built out the roster, we're gonna find ourselves a quarterback. Chris Shula is not going to be the guy to coach the quarterback directly because, again, he's a defensive guy and he'd be the head coach anyway. But you'd go out and find someone to coach your quarterback once you found it.
So you're saying if they hire a defensive-minded coach and say, we want to put a defense out there first, in a league that's obviously run by offense right now, you'd be like, good hire.
Yeah, I might be
I thought that's what we didn't want. I thought
no. I never said I didn't. I never said I didn't want that. I think people need to come to the realization that this year, especially, is telling you that the league may be cycling back into defense, and that's a bigger 50,000-foot conversation that we can have another day. But look at the teams that you have playing in the conference championship games. Look at those 4 teams, and tell me where there's a really weak defense that's being carried by a future Hall of Fame quarterback. The Rams defense has had their issues the last couple of weeks. I get it. And Stafford is a Hall of Fame quarterback. But for the most part, like, it's entirely possible you could have Jarrett Stidham and Sam Darnold playing each other in the Super Bowl because their defenses are both just so damn good. We might be pivoting and cycling all the way back around to defense again in this league. And yeah, it's not saying you don't need to have a good quarterback. That's not what I'm saying. But we might be cycling back towards a point where teams are aware that you have to have a pretty good defense because there aren't 32 franchise quarterbacks out there who can carry a team to a championship regardless of how good or bad your defense may be. And the Steelers and other teams that are hiring now may have missed that wave of offensive geniuses over the last decade or so. And so you do lean back into defense. My greater point here was find a personality and stick with it for a while. Figure out what the hell you want to be.
Didn't they figure out that they want to be a defensive team for the past 40 years? Minus maybe 5 years in the 2010s? They were always a defensive-minded, defensive-oriented. How many times did you hear, how about that $170 million defense this year?
Right. So, but is that did they actually prove that as their identity, though?
You're worried about identities? You're worried about identities?
That's what your head coach is supposed to set. Your head coach is supposed to set the identity for your organization.
Identity. I don't care if it's coming from the offensive or defensive side of the ball. How about a winning one? How about a playoff one? How about a, Super Bowl one? I was just throwing around a football that said Super Bowl 43 on. And I said to the kid, last time they won the Super Bowl.
17 years.
He said, when was that? I said, long time before you.
Yeah. You weren't even a glint.
Is that the culture you want? Super Bowl? I don't care if it comes from the offensive side of the ball because they've won.
I don't care where it comes from either, but have won.
I just think there's a less chance. I don't even know how you're going to take this. A less chance of being a complete failure with McCarthy compared to Shula. Shula could just been crap.
Oh, I agree with that. There's much less chance of failing with a guy who's proven that he consistently gets to the playoffs 2/3 of the time, as opposed to a guy who's never been a head coach before. Yeah, if we're talking about probabilities and chances, yeah, I'm fully on board with that statement. There's much less chance you're going to go 5-12 with McCarthy than a brand new head coach, a guy who's never done it before.
Like I said, I'm one of the few that would rather be 8, 9, 10 wins every year than have that 4-13 team and think you're going to get all of a sudden you're going to get, Trevor Lawrence or whoever would be in the top.
Here's the problem, though, Mark, is when you it's like making a bet at the casino, and you put your money down on the table, and you say, you know what, I know the odds on this game are good. It's blackjack. I can look at the cards, and I have a little bit more of an edge than I do going to like craps or roulette, and it's all pure luck, right? And the house has the advantage. Sure. Yeah, that's great. You know that you're more likely to win 8, 9, 10 games, but there's no that's it. That's the ceiling. You're hitting your head on it at 10 wins and going, 10 wins and maybe a wild card win if we get lucky.
You're complaining
That's it.
about
That's the
10
ceiling.
wins. You're complaining about 10 wins.
I'm not complaining
I'll
about
die
10
for
wins.
10 wins.
I'm not complaining about 10 wins.
Arizona
I'm
Cardinals will die
complaining.
for 10 wins every year.
I'm complaining that is the ceiling. The ceiling for this organization, and seemingly the goal, the standard, has become, let's just get to the playoffs, see what happens. That was never, when Dan Rooney was running this organization, it was never, hey, Bill Nunn, go down south to a bunch of HBCUs that no one else scouts and find me a bunch of talent that's capable of going to a wild card game. It was go out and find me a bunch of dudes that nobody else is willing to scout and help us build a Super Bowl winner.
Okay. Now let's think about this. Is now Tomlin has his fingers off of everything. I'm just trying to play devil advocate to everything here, because if not, we'd be just arguing about the same
I know. We
thing.
would just sit here and bitch for 45 minutes. I know.
Which seems like that might be everybody would want to happen.
That's what the chat's for on YouTube.
But the devil's advocate, if Tomlin's taken out of the total building of the roster, doesn't that then give you somewhat of a sense of moving forward now? Well,
I mean, it's a different head coach, but if you were looking for as reasonably close a replica of Mike Tomlin based on results, not based on philosophy and personality and all that, but just based on results. Like, if you challenge someone who was neither a Packers or Cowboys or Steelers fan, right? Just somebody who casually watches football, and you put two resumes, took two Pro Football Reference pages for two head coaches and slapped them up on the wall next to each other and said, tell me which one's Mike Tomlin and which one's Mike McCarthy. They'd go, that one. That's where the beef comes in with a lot of people. Is McCarthy has proven over the years that he is similar to Tomlin. Again, not in schematics or philosophies or personality, but in results to what they've seen for the last 10 years here in Pittsburgh. And so that's where people get pissed off.
I just don't think you can compare the two, to be honest with you. They're two different philosophies, two different everythings about them. Like I said, just because Mike Tomlin's going to, bang the table for Broderick Jones or Kenny Pickett doesn't mean Mike McCarthy's going to do that. It could change the outcome of your organization, right? Maybe he views a wide receiver on the free agent market more than like Mike Tomlin would. Maybe he doesn't want to make the trade for DK Metcalf. So it's hard to sit here and say that these are 1A and 1B, twins, Spider-Man meme, whatever you call it. Because, I mean, they might be in record. They might be in almost years in the league in success and lack of success. But there's a lot different between these two guys. So I don't say that. But, hey, it's all I got to say about Mike McCarthy. Ready?
Yeah.
Wait. I got to hit the button.
Oh. Can't hear anything.
I believe in Mike McCarthy. You couldn't hear my Joe Hendrys?
I heard a split second of it. Every time you try to play some kind of audio from your phone.
Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy.
What if you were like up at Minio's in Squirrel Hill and you just go, Mike McCarthy, and you hear, say his name and he appears. I believe in McCarthy. I believe in McCarthy. And he just spun around, and he's got a Steelers hat on and that big cheesy smile.
Hey, I got one for you. Why don't you get Roger Wood on the freaking?
He's gonna have to update the song.
Yeah, get Roger Wood on it. I guess you didn't need some. I guess you need some rights from that guy.
Yeah, probably.
I don't know why the kid has his freaking doll around him.
So since I don't want to take that much more time out of people's Saturday or
Well, they
whatever
like to
point in the
complain
weekend they're
here,
watching this.
so we should read some comments of how much they're complaining.
We'll get to that in a second.
I mean, I've been glancing at him. I'm either a hater or
Stupid. You're stupid too.
Stupid hater, carrying water.
Yep.
A couple people said I'm right.
A couple I saw. Our boy Scott Casto, he likes the McCarthy hire.
I agree with Ezra Free. Minios is garbage.
Minios is not garbage. You can go to hell, Ezra, and I mean that in the nicest way possible.
Better than
watching the show.
I'm just curious who they bring into. A lot of it does.
So that's what I want to get to. Hold on. I want to thank Higgins for supporting the show. Higgins Professional Painting. They've done a great job at your house, as everybody can see the new beautiful greenish wall behind you that eventually you will hang decorations on. We can see your fat head. I don't mean that like your fat head, but your fat head back there behind you. And I'm looking forward to having them over our house to get some work done as well. Interior, exterior, they do it all. Get a hold of them. Get your free estimate today by going to higginsprofessional.com or calling 412-344-0480. What do you think we get? Like he's always.
Pirates are bringing back McCutcheon. Did you just hear that?
No. Did you see what Charrington said though?
No, I did not.
He basically said everything but Kutch is old and we don't need him.
Well, you probably do need him, but he is old.
Yeah, it's Pirates Fest. Anyway, what kind of staff do we think McCarthy builds out here? I mean, is he bringing in all his guys? Is he bringing in the usual Mike McCarthy brain trust?
I don't know. I'd imagine some of them are. I mean, I wouldn't be against my buddy Luke Getsy coming in. He's an offensive assistant or senior offensive assistant with Green Bay now. He's a wide receiver coach. He could be a quarterback coach. He was an offensive coordinator for the Bears and Raiders. Didn't go very well. So
yeah.
Plus he lives in Homestead. I wonder if McCarthy was. Somebody did text me right after that.
Mm-hmm.
If McCarthy was from Florida, they would have never hired him. I think that has something to do with the people's mindset too.
I think it's a valuable question. Because bear with me here. When I say the Steelers don't really have an identity anymore, and they don't, their identity was Mike Tomlin. That was it. As far as people outside of Pittsburgh were.
How did that work out the last 10 years?
Exactly.
Okay.
So they don't have an identity. And the problem is, look, we talked the other day about most NFL owners are batshit crazy, right? They think they're the smartest people in the world just because they have a butt ton of money. Like the whole Terry Pagula thing up in Buffalo the other day was just a disaster. I will give Art Rooney II credit for this much. He doesn't go out there and say stupid stuff, right? He doesn't throw coaches under the bus. He doesn't, he's not Jerry Jones going on a radio show every week. He's not doing any of that. And I'll give him some credit for that. But I will also say Art Rooney has as much personality as this stack of Post-it notes, okay? And because of that, I think it's bled down into some of the decisions that he's made because I don't think he knows what he wants the identity of the Steelers to be. I don't think he does.
I think he wants to have one of those Super Bowl titles before he
That's
hangs
great.
it up.
We all want to win a Super Bowl. How are you going to get there, man? Tell me how you're going to build the organization to win.
He's probably thinking not by hiring a first-year coach who's
what I think?
Coordinator in L.A. That's probably what he's thinking.
You know what I think? I think he looks at every decision through the lens of what his dad did. And that's a hard legacy to live up to, man. Dan Rooney is a friggin' legend for a million different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
As a human and as an owner. And it's really hard to live up to that legacy. And I can't imagine being in those shoes trying to live up to it. And I feel like everything Art does looks back on what his dad did and says, okay, what would dad have done here? Right. And that's probably a good way to that's a good North Star. That's a good guiding light, right?
He wouldn't have hired Mike McCarthy. We know
exactly. Exactly my
So you're saying
point.
he's doing the opposite. So he's doing the old George Costanza opposite.
I'm saying, I think, like, I'll go back to the selection of Kenny Pickett in the draft. I honestly think Art Rooney II looked at that, and people will say, no, that's not what happened. We actually liked him. Okay. I honestly think Art Rooney II looked at it and said, man, my dad really whiffed on Marino 40 years ago. I don't want to do that again. We got to take this kid. He's got moxie. He's got something. He's a pit man. And we saw how that worked out. I honestly think he looked at this coach. I honestly think Art Rooney looked at this coaching search and said, you know, when dad was in doubt, he went with a Pittsburgh man 30, 35 years ago. You know, that's what he did. He went with a Pittsburgh man. I think we need somebody that understands the what the Steelers mean to the city of Pittsburgh. Like that's devoid of any sort of personality or original thinking whatsoever. And I think that's Art's main fault is he hasn't, Dan Rooney was very different in the way he ran the organization from his dad before him. Art Rooney Sr., for as much as we build up his legacy because he was the chief and they won 4 Super Bowls in the 70s, he wasn't great at running the team back in the day in like the 50s and 60s. They were trash for a long time. And Dan came in and actually charted a course and set a path and said, this is the way we're going to do it. Art hasn't come in and done that. He's just kind of looked back in the mirror and said, I wonder what dad would do here. Wonder if I should do it that way. That's what it strikes me as.
I think you're being a little unfair there.
Maybe I am, but that's always struck me about Art since he's taken over. There's nothing about Art that gives me hope or conviction that he's going to strike out on his own bold terms and figure out how to give the Steelers an identity that can work in the modern day NFL.
Well, the way I look at it, this is he's a rational human, right? As you say, he's a lawyer, right? So I think Omar presented him, hey, this is what we're thinking, and basically, I won't say talked him into it, but maybe nudged him in that direction. I don't
think. You think Omar nudged Art in the McCarthy direction?
I think there was some nudging. He might not have needed a whole bunch of nudging, but I bet there was some nudging there going on. I mean, if you're saying to follow what your dad did and your grandpap did, they hired a young 34-year-old. I don't think the Steelers have they ever had a 60-year-old coach ever. I mean, coach into his 60s.
No.
So this is a big damn change. I don't think so. Was he 60?
I would think so.
Nah, he started when he was 47, 47, 50. 59 or 60, I bet. Because if he started, was he 23 years?
So he was. Oh yeah, I guess he was let go. He was let go in January. Was it January of 92? December of 92? Or no, December of 91? Is that what it was?
Probably. We let go or.
Well, yeah, we could argue, we could debate. Holy shit, you're right. He never coached as a 60-year-old.
That's what I'm telling you. 59.
It always felt older because we were kids when he was coach.
Yeah, so I mean, I'd have to go back way before that. I don't know. I'm sure there was somebody, but if they ever had a 60-year-old coach, so this is a big change from the norm.
Let's see who they bring in. He's Pittsburgh guy.
I want to see who they bring in. Defensive coordinator, huge hire. I mean, we complain so much about Tomlin and his coaching tree and his staff issues. Let's see what this guy can bring in.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know. Would he bring in? He'd have to bring in a coordinator, right?
He has to, even if the guy isn't calling the plays. Yeah, I think he has to bring in a coordinator.
I mean, defensive coordinator is huge.
I mean, is there necessarily a massive amount of success from the McCarthy tree?
I don't know. I'd have to look at it.
Yeah, that's what I like.
I don't know I never know where the tree starts and ends.
I don't know. Trees grow off of other trees.
Yeah, I mean, is it just like a sapling, or what are we talking about here? What type of tree are we talking about here? Where does it start?
I mean,
Bruce Arians didn't get a head coaching job until he was let go here. Does that mean he's part of that tree? Is he a twig? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where it starts at. That's what makes me so angry about that.
But yeah, we'll see where it goes. I am curious to see if he hires an OC who is like hands on the guy on game day, or is Mike still making the calls with the old play sheet over his face on Sundays? Obviously, huge question of how they handle Rodgers, and I don't know. That feels like another sort of, well, we'll see what we can do kind of move. Like, hopefully.
I'm looking real quick here. You had DC's under McCarthy in Dallas. You had Mike Nolan,
Okay.
Dan Quinn, and Mike Zimmer.
So nobody young, really.
Nolan went on to become a coach, but he failed.
Mm.
Dan Quinn become a really good everything, good defensive coordinator. I think he's a pretty good head coach too. I don't know where Zimmer is right now.
Retired, I think.
So I mean, is Mike Zimmer considered to be part of his tree?
I don't know, but I guess it's less inspiring than like the McVay tree that we were talking about when we were talking about Shula and Shielhouse.
I'm just wondering. I mean, just go back and just say we're sitting here right now saying the Steelers hired Chris Shula. What would the reaction be? Would it be 100%? Not 100%. Would it be very, very positive, or would it be like this guy doesn't know shit?
I think it would be excitement for a pivot in a different direction in the unknown, right? Like it would be a search. Like I said, in my opinion, anyway, it would be striking out, trying to find your own identity, as opposed to leaning back on we're the Steelers and that's how we do it. We go Pittsburgh guy. That's what this smells like to me right now. Look, again, I like Mike McCarthy as a human. Seems like a great dude. And I wish him nothing but success because I want to see the Steelers win. I'm just not hopeful that this ends up any different than it has for the last, 15 years, 17 years.
He had 11 of his 18 years have been 10-win seasons.
Now, he had Rodgers for much of that, right? He had peak Aaron Rodgers for much of that. What's he look like when he's trying to figure out the quarterback position?
Who decided to draft Rodgers? I don't know.
It wasn't him.
Yeah, it wasn't it?
No, I think he was in San Francisco at the time and drafted Alex Smith when he was offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach there.
Well, put it this way. I know when he went there with Brett Favre.
Favre.
And Brett had a rough season before then. He turned it around.
Again, I'm not questioning his ability to help quarterbacks, but you don't have one. I'm not questioning his ability to win regular season games. 600 winning percentage.
I just don't think it's the same thing. I mean, I don't say, well, we just hired Mike Tomlin again. I just don't see it that way.
All right. Well, obviously, we'll keep people up to date on where it's going, when the official press conference is going to be. Thanks to the Dan Heck team for supporting the show.
Hopefully not tomorrow.
If you're looking to buy or sell a home in the Pittsburgh area, they'll take care of you. Go to heckteamhomes.com, HAECK, heckteamhomes.com. We appreciate them supporting the program. We'll let you know, obviously, the press conference, our reactions to it, coordinator search, what this means for the quarterback position. There's a lot still to figure out, even if the head coach part of it has been figured out. We appreciate each and every single one of you for joining us.
Is that Iron City still cold?
It's empty. I'm going to go hear that little bit that at the bottom there.
Why don't you sing along with me?
I believe
in
McCarthy. I believe in McCarthy because I do. Okay, that's going to do it for an emergency edition of Kaboly+Mack. Enjoy.
I got to go write a story about everybody calling me an asshole.
Have fun digging out of the snow and ice wherever you live in the world, because it's going to be nasty this weekend. Take it easy. We'll talk soon.